Ms. Baker, you say the fate of your marriage is riding on today's DNA results. You are suing to prove that your 3-month-old son, Caleb, was fathered by your husband, Mr. Baker.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Baker, you say it's medically impossible for you to have a child, and therefore Caleb cannot be yours. You say if the DNA results prove you are not the father, you will leave your wife and family.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Baker, you say the relationship truly is on the rocks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
At the time I got pregnant, I was drinking quite a bit. I was drinking pretty much every day, and I was blacking out at night, and I wouldn't remember periods of time. I wouldn't remember
Whether you were intimate with another man or not.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not fair to Mr. Baker, you know, and I love him with all my heart.
Mr. Baker, before this, was there a lack of trust in the relationship?
Well, Your Honor, to be completely honest, when Felice and I had gotten together, the way that we got together was I had done some work in her home, and that's the way that we met. And we didn't do everything right. And I don't condone the actions that we took in our relationship. I was married, she was married. And whenever you have two people who are in a monogamous relationship come together the way that we did, there's always going to cast doubt on the back of your mind. How do I know she wouldn't do this to me? We did it to each other. And when we did that, we hurt a lot of people. We have 12 children today, but 11 children were deeply hurt because of the actions that we made. So because of how we got together, decisions that we made, there's always been that little nagging.
I mean, if she did it to him, she'll do it to me. If he did it to her, he'll do it to me. Absolutely. But it doesn't seem like that's your only doubt.
Well, just knowing other situations, you know, that went on in her marriage before she was with me.
Explain.
There were spending issues that were taking place in the marriage that he didn't know about. And I mean, to the point where, you know, that had put her in national limelight because she was overspending behind his back.
So you had instances in your previous marriage.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
That you said were revealed on the national stage, the limelight?
Well, I know that she had went on a very public show.
Which show did you go on?
The Oprah Winfrey Show.
Okay. And I wanted you to confirm that because I actually do remember that episode. And I remember your husband thought you were a certain amount of money in debt.
Correct, Your Honor.
But you were lying, and the number was like
Tens of thousands.
Exactly.
Yes, Your Honor.
I remember that. Mr. Baker, knowing that also affects your ability to trust her.
Correct.
Ms. Baker, have you lied about cheating on Mr. Baker? Have you cheated on him?
No, I have not cheated on Mr. Baker, Your Honor. There's no recollection of anything ever happening to me while I was drinking, but just that thing in the back of my mind just keeps going, you know, did something happen to me and I just don't remember?
So the truth is that you don't really remember. You don't recall because of the drinking.
Correct, Your Honor.
What could have transpired?
Correct, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Baker, you say that it's medically impossible for you to have fathered this child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
Back in 1991, when my ex was pregnant with our 4th child, while she was pregnant, I had a vasectomy. Mm-hmm. And so based upon the research that I have done regarding vasectomies, once the procedure hits the 20-year mark, they literally put it into the realm of impossibility. So since it's been 23 years after a vasectomy, you've got to question, is it even possible for me to even conceive a child?
When you found out you were pregnant, you told your husband.
Well, what happened is I noticed I was getting a little bit of a belly, and it had been 3.5 months since I had a period. actually, I thought I was going through menopause. And I mentioned to Mr. Baker that I, hadn't had my menstrual cycle in 3 months. And he said, well, if you're pregnant, it's not for me. And so we went to the store and got a pregnancy test, and it at that time came out positive. And so he didn't believe the pregnancy test, so we went over to another store and bought 2 expensive tests, and both of those came out positive also.
When you found this out, Mr. Baker, what was your first thought?
I went on the internet. I Googled what can cause a false positive. And there's only 4 conditions that a false positive will show up on a pregnancy test. Obviously, number 1 is pregnancy. Number 2 is ovarian cancer. Number 3 is uterus cancer. Number 4 is any cancerous tumors in the uterus. I never slept that night because the only thing that's going through my mind is the obvious. Well, I know she's not pregnant because I had a vasectomy.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
I let her sleep through the night. I didn't sleep a wink, went to work the next day. She calls me up at 11 o'clock crying hysterically. And I said, honey, what's wrong? She says, I'm not pregnant. I said, what do you mean you're not pregnant? How do you know? She goes, I'm dying of ovarian cancer.
Because
I have every symptom. Because she went and researched.
Looked up the same thing.
Yes.
Yes, I looked up the same thing the following day and, read the cancer. So that's when I thought maybe I had cancer, because you could have the bloating belly just like you are pregnant. And I didn't feel pregnant. I've had 8 children of my own. I know what it feels like to be pregnant. Once I read that, we went to the emergency room. We waited around for 5 hours in the emergency room, and Mr. Baker actually left to go get me something to eat. And when he came back, I had already found out that I was 3.5 months pregnant.
And so at that point, Mr. Baker, when you find out she is pregnant, is that a new set of worry and mistrust?
You could only imagine what was going through my mind.
Yes. I can understand why you had doubt. Oh. And I can most certainly understand why that opened up another can of worry worms for you.
I couldn't believe it myself. I just took it as that it was a total miracle from God. Because of the baby, I quit drinking. So I just took it from God that he put this baby in my stomach to save me from my drinking, and also I was taking pills.
There's another part to this, Your Honor. Our one regret was that we never had a child together. We contacted a gentleman who is the predominant specialist on vasectomy reversal in the entire nation, located in San Diego. And they sent us a package because we discussed getting a reversal so that we can have a child. And when we thought about it, we have 11 children, 5 grandchildren. Here, forget it. And we threw the package away. And then 6 months later, we regretted that we threw it away, and we ordered a second one. And then we went through the same process again, and regrettably, we threw away that second one.
And now your wife is pregnant.
You know, my attitude is very simple. It better be a miracle from God.
And you were in your 40s.
Yeah, 45. So, and because of everything, and he doubted it, we at least took 20 ultrasounds. We went and had 20 ultrasounds of the 3D, 4D to see what the baby looked like, to see if it looked like him.
And it must be hard to really wrap your head around the fact that your husband's 49, that already, I mean,
yeah,
as men age, their sperm count dwindles as well. It's not just women.
That's true.
Well, at this point, the court would like to call an expert witness, Dr. Jamila Gator from Rise Wellness and Spa. Jerome, can you please escort Ms. Gator into the courtroom? Hello, Dr. Gator.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking to Mr. and Ms. Baker. They have a very interesting situation where Mr. Baker admits that he had a vasectomy almost 20 plus years ago.
Wow.
And Ms. Baker, at 45 years old, becomes pregnant. And so we need to rely on you to give us some insight as to the possibility of a 49-year-old man that has had a vasectomy being able to father a child.
Well, a 49 to 50-year-old man really doesn't have issues with fertility typically. 85% of sperm counts at that age are going to be normal. As you age, it's really more the quality of the sperm, and that tends to be affected by lifestyle factors such as smoking and drinking.
Okay.
However, in Mr. Baker's case, he's had a vasectomy, and if it was a successful vasectomy, then the sperm count should be 0, and it would be impossible for him to father a child. But what often happens is that men don't do the proper follow-up after the vasectomy to ensure that it was, in fact, successful.
And what is that follow-up exactly?
Typically 3 months and then again a year later for follow-up.
All right, and so, Mr. Baker, did you do the 3-month follow-up?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at that time, were you told that the vasectomy, the procedure had gone well?
I was good to go. I was cleared.
You were?
Yes.
Okay, and so he did that, and then what would be the next step after that, Dr. Gator?
Well, then to follow up again at a year to make sure that the vasectomy did not fail.
Did you follow up at a year? Mr. Baker?
No, Your Honor.
You did not.
And that's typical. Only 8% of men do their year follow-up. But
Really?
Yes, yes.
Oh, with a procedure that important?
Well, usually the second follow-up procedure was if you failed the first one. But if you passed the first one and you have, 0 sperm count, then you were good to go.
Okay.
The year follow-up is actually, like we were talking about before, to make sure that the vasectomy doesn't fail. It's very rare, but in about 4,000 cases, the vas deferens, which is the tube that carries a sperm, that's what we cut during the procedure. Cool. And very rarely that tube can grow back over time. So when we ask you to follow up at a year's time, we're checking a sperm count to make sure that there's still no sperm and to make sure that that tube did not grow back together.
And that was the follow-up that he missed?
Correct.
Where they would have checked to see if potentially it almost would have reconnected itself.
Reconnected, exactly. So when we look at this, it does not make it impossible for him to father a child. He should have about a 1.5% chance of fathering a child.
Very, very slim.
Yes.
But possible.
Possible. It only takes 1 sperm.
Ms. Baker, based upon what you've heard, Dr. Gator explained to us today, how are you feeling now?
I just believe that the Lord, had this happen.
And so you are hanging your hat on the 1.5% because you truly believe this is your husband's child.
Yes, I do.
And Mr. Baker, your contention is if in fact this child is not your biological child, you are going to leave the relationship.
Your Honor, how could you trust? Well, I blanked out. I didn't know. I mean, how could you trust? I don't mean to sound cold. I love my son. I love him with all my heart. Your wife's drowning, your son's drowning, and you're right there and you want to save them both, but you can't save them both. I mean, it's an impossible decision. I mean, like I said, Your Honor, today there's a lot at stake here. Not just for me. I mean, that little boy who loves Daddy.
Exactly.
Our children, I mean, devastating. I mean, we have a blended family that people only dream of because our children love each other and they're best friends and they support each other. I mean, you're talking about a devastating end result if this comes back anything other than a miracle from God.
I, in my heart of hearts, believe it is Mr. Baker's. I do not recall any other guy doing anything to me while I had drank. There's no recollection. This man is the love of my life, and I would be devastated if that son came out not his.
In the case of Baker versus Baker, when it comes to 3-month-old Caleb Baker, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Baker, you are the father. You know, this is a courtroom where very special things happen, right, bro? But this, I must say.
It's just been a very tough road. And we've had to rebuild walls that were broken down and help restore lives that were destroyed because of actions that we made. But I wouldn't trade the relationship with the love of my life, and I thank God for his blessings. And
Ms. Baker, I have to say, there was one thing you said in your testimony is you felt like maybe this baby was a gift from God because as soon as you found out you were pregnant, you stopped drinking.
Yes.
And you've been sober.
Yes.
Stay on that path. Ms. Hooker, you are here with your mother because you say the defendant's son, Mr. Abraham, fathered your 10-month-old daughter, Kanaya. You say that Ms. Baker and her family's public denial of this child has caused you pain, and you are here for an apology and to prove her son is the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Baker, you and your daughter are here today to represent your son, Mr. Abraham, because tragically, he was killed 3 months after the birth of this child. You say that before his death, your son expressed great doubt that he was the father of Ms. Hooker's baby, and you are here to put the lies to rest. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
How have you been affected by Ms. Baker's doubts about Kanaya's paternity?
I'm just sad sometimes. I try to deal with it now. Like, I really don't care no more. Like, that's how I feel. I don't care anymore. I don't care who feel nothing about my baby. I don't care. It just seemed like everybody else was looking upside my head like I'm an animal or something. Like, every time I'm sitting down doing something, they looking at me like I'm the outcast of the group. She looked like me, so why is it a problem? That's why I just say I don't care about nothing. And none of that. I don't care.
That's not the way
so,
that you go about doing
Ms. Hooker, let me ask you, what was your relationship with Keyshawn? Were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
First we was best friends. 6th grade year, we was best friends, and then we started talking, then we stopped talking, and just like we stopped talking, then we started going together for a minute, and then like, when I got pregnant, it was just like, we always talked, but we just stopped going together. But we still talking though, but we just stopped going together. Like, we weren't boyfriend or girlfriend.
Okay, but then you still talked.
Yeah.
Were you in love, or was
Yeah.
this was your first love?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I jump in?
please.
It's not that she don't care. Her feelings been hurt, so she hold a guard up. It's not Miss Baker who denies Kenaya. It's her family who makes my daughter feel some type of way. It's not Miss Baker. She was too fat to be his baby. She fat like them, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff. Never from Miss Baker. It's always her family who always have something to say about my grandbaby. My daughter's feelings have been hurt. It's always talk about her like she this tramp, and I'm like, enough.
So, Ms. Baker, explain to the court why there's doubt that Keyshawn is Kanaya's biological father.
My son was on vacation, and we kept hearing that Denia was pregnant, but then when we finally found out for sure, he told me, he said he wasn't the only boy that had messed with Denia.
Okay.
And he made me promise that we was gonna get a blood test, and things didn't go the way we thought they were gonna go, and now we're here.
Well, I'm so very sorry for your loss. Let me say that. I know this is difficult. May I ask what happened to Keyshawn?
He was shot on a Sunday, and he died that Friday.
I'm so very sorry.
He just told me to promise him that we was gonna get a test done because of what the other young man said, and you know.
What did the other young man say?
He told Keyshawn that when he wasn't around, he was supposedly sleeping with Denia.
Miss Hooker, I have to ask you, was there another guy?
No, cause that's why it's funny, because how can somebody tell me who I was sleeping with? Nobody in the room was in the room with me when I was sleeping with somebody. What do I have to lie for?
Keyshawn told us that he wanted the blood test. The only way, Keyshawn only denied the baby when him and my daughter was arguing. Other than that, I have pictures with him laying on her stomach. He had doubts only when he was angry. And I cannot get mad at what he tell his mother or nothing like that. But when he came over there with us, he held the baby, kissed the baby, and loved the baby. We just need to get the results for Miss Caroline. Because anybody else, to me, it doesn't matter. It's all about her. And he did ask her to get the blood test. For it won't be no doubts on their end about my grandbaby, because it's sad now.
I agree.
And it's not even Miss Baker. It's her family who makes it like she just sleeping around with everybody.
And they don't know me like that for them to be saying anything about me.
Said something. From what I ever heard about my family, nobody ever talked about her.
It all occurred at her house. Then when go.
I know my mom said something about, she had a birthday dinner, and my mom did tell me, she said something about she think I didn't like her, or, you know, things like that. Maybe her perception of what other people view of her is just her perception, because she has to understand that sometimes it's hard for people to look, for me personally, to look at the baby, because it's just a reminder that my brother's not here. So it's not about her and her feelings. When she does come around, it is a sense of sadness for me. So it's not that, you know, somebody looking at her crazy. They're just dealing with the murder of their loved one. So it's not, you know, about her.
How did you learn that Miss Hooker was pregnant?
She ride the same bus as my daughter and my granddaughter does from school, and they had came home like prior months before. They had said she was supposed to be pregnant. And I asked her, I said, do you know anything of your daughter being pregnant? I say, because the girls say they were on the bus, and she's saying she's
gonna
like,
find out what she having tomorrow.
what she's having and what she's gonna name the baby. And she was like, no. So when she got home, she ended up texting me a picture, telling me, yeah, she is pregnant. And
We went the next day and found out what she was having.
Yeah.
So your mind, Keyshawn accepted that he was the father of this child.
Yeah, in my mind.
From the way he behaved at your home. But Mom, Ms. Baker, did he give you any proof or anything that there was this other guy? Because Ms. Hooker testified that this was the only person she was sleeping with at that time.
I think he just went off what they're saying in their circle of kids. You know, they talk, they have their own.
Yeah, the boy was telling him that, you know, when you were away, I was messing with her. He was unsure to the point of where he was just sick. He was worried,
scared.
He was scared. He lost so much weight. He lost a whole lot of weight. Like I told him, you played grown, now it's time to be grown. Because if it's your baby, you not finna run and you not finna leave the whole bag on her.
Him or my family are not those kind of people to do that. What did I do to her?
Oh, you can't go. Don't go there, Miss Bland. Don't go there, Miss Bland. Don't go there, because you know the truth is you.
We're all here to talk, honey.
This is
no.
What I'm saying.
Not you keep commenting on stuff.
What I'm saying.
So why you keep talking?
Listen, this is what we ain't gonna do. We come here to go back and forth with each other.
You know
exactly.
What? And I ain't never, Judge. I ain't never said yay or nay. All I say is what my baby said to me. Right. I've talked to her, and she know why we here.
Exactly. And listen.
Yeah, I'm the one who
and
wrote
that's
the letter.
all I'm concerned with. All this other bickering, and I don't got time for it. Because at the end of the day, this my baby.
Right.
And he gone.
Right.
He not coming back. So all this other extra stuff, I don't got time for it.
And that's exactly why it's so important.
I'm here to do what I promised my son to do. I'm not trying to do anything against anybody to make her feel bad. I ain't never been denying them. We never had a problem. She come stay the night when she feel like it, her and the baby. Everything. They was just with me at my birthday dinner. I ain't never did nothing, even though my son telling me that he wasn't sure. I have never did or said anything to make her feel no bad kind of way, because like I said, they was kids. She's still a kid.
Yes.
And I didn't come here for no badgering, no bickering, trying to put nobody down. Right. I came here because this is what I promised my baby, and it's going to be done.
And the truth is, Ms. Baker, and you're right.
Right now.
You're right.
Judge, my daughter really feels some type of way. It's not that she feels some type of way. It's like she more hurt behind the obituary. And Miss Carolyn has explained to her about the obituary, how the obituary went, but in her heart, she feel like Miss Bland left her out of the obituary on purpose.
So,
And that's why she have so much animosity towards Toy.
I just feel like this. When this come back and it's the baby, I don't want no sorries from nobody. Keep your sorries. I don't want no sorries.
I'm not giving you a sorry.
Okay? I'm not asking you to.
Shut up.
hold on.
I don't care.
Hold on.
She thinks she can say something to me because I'm a child. I'm gonna keep talking to her because she thinks she's hard and I will punch her in her face. I don't care.
Oh, no,
I don't
no,
care.
no,
I don't care.
no,
'Cause I've
no.
been waiting for her already.
No.
I don't care. I
No.
don't care.
No.
I don't care.
Listen. Miss Hooker, you're going to have your day, and it's today. Okay. But what we're not going to do, I'm not going to let you in this courtroom step so far outside, outside the lines that you regret it. Because at this moment, you don't just represent yourself. When you become a mom, you represent your baby.
One of my family members is in the obituary, but my baby one. Y'all can keep my family member out the obituary.
Okay, first of all, slow down, because I want to understand.
Why you tell me?
She said one of her family members was in the obituary.
But there was no mention of Kanaya. Was this intentional, Miss Baker, Miss Bland? Was this something that...
like this, Judge. She went and finished up without me. So, Kanaya did get left out. So did my grandmother, and so did one of my sisters.
Okay.
It wasn't just the baby.
Okay.
We weren't together. Nobody was thinking right at that time. We weren't none of us together. She went ahead to try to call herself helping me, and she was going ahead of me to finish it up, and all three of these people got left out, so it wasn't just Kanaya.
Ms. Bland, did you, and I want to ask you this, did you intentionally leave Kanaya out of that obituary because you knew there was a question surrounding the paternity?
Yes, I did. First of all, let me say this. My mama has a relationship with them. I don't. It may or may not be his. I did not put the baby name in there just in case it isn't. My mom has to read that obituary. She lost a child. Nobody else lost one. So if this baby turned out to be his, that's a death all over again. Do I want my mama to look in there and look at a reminder of a baby that was supposed to be his and it wasn't? No, I do not. I'm thinking about my mama feelings. It don't have nothing to do with her.
And so,
nothing.
So now let's come forward. If it is Keyshawn's child, will your family, your mother has expressed she has not had an ill will towards this baby or Miss Hooker, but will your family accept Kanaya?
Yes, they will.
They don't have to.
I already told, you know what I said already, Judge? Since she got left out the obituary, I have already told them, if it comes back saying Kanaya belongs to Keyshawn, I'm going directly back to the funeral home and get a set of obituaries made. So when this baby grow up and she read her dad's obituary, there's her name.
That is honorable.
And my mama did mention it. And I said, Ma, I thought the baby may not be his. That's what I said. Because that's what she said. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. But myself, if I'd have been there to finish up, I was putting her in there because my feelings was, I'd rather her been in there, if she was, than for her to grow up and, hey, I'm reading my dad's obituary, but where my name at?
Exactly.
I didn't want that.
I think it's time for the results. Thank you. Jerome?
There you go.
Thank you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. Because there wasn't a blood card available to test the DNA of the deceased Keyshawn Abraham, we performed what is called a DNA test with his surviving parents, Carolyn Baker and Lamond Abraham. With that being said, the results determined if there is a viable relationship between the child, Kanaya Abraham, and Miss Baker and Mr. Abraham. In the case of Coates Hooker versus Baker, when it comes to 11-month-old Kenaya Abraham, it has been determined by this court the percentage of relatedness between Ms. Baker, Mr. Abraham, and Kenaya Abraham is 0%.
And this is why right here.
Ms. Baker, are you all right? Do you need to sit down? Do you need to sit down, ma'am?
I didn't tell them. They weren't gonna tell me sorry, so I'm not telling them nothing.
Do you need to sit down, ma'am?
Nobody did anything to you, honey.
I don't care. Miss
Nobody
Philly do nothing to me, but I don't like you.
That's
I don't like
fine,
you.
sweetie. It's
I don't like you.
fine.
Okay, I don't care.
It's
No,
okay.
stop talking to me then.
Nobody did anything
Stop talking
to
me.
you.
Ms. Hooker,
No,
just stop.
Stop it! Stop, please! Just stop!
Okay, come on, let's go.
You do owe my
Let's
mom an
go.
apology, though. That's when you owe one.
No, excuse me.
Because you know you slept with somebody else.
Miss
And
Hooker.
Girl,
Miss
better
Hooker.
stop talking about it.
No.
Hey, go in there. Go in there. Go in there. You do too much.
I don't care because you always think you can push me in the head. Let me